Hi, my name is Arthur Deacon, and I lead the energy practice at AMI, America's Market Intelligence. We are a market research firm focused on Latin America, and I especially help energy companies make market-facing decisions based on real on-the-ground data collected through primary interviews, desk research, and public sources. This year, we're launching a new series called Powering the Future, where we interview high-level energy executives to understand the biggest challenges, the biggest opportunities, and the day-to-day functions of running a business in Latin America. We start off this year by looking at Enel Américas, one of the biggest energy companies in the world. We speak to the CEO, Aurelio Oliveiras, talking about his 20 plus years at the firm, as well as his personal and professional lessons learned throughout the years. Thank you very much for joining us today. We are really excited to have you. For those of you who don't know, Aurelio Oliveiras is the CEO of Enel Américas, one of the biggest energy companies in the world, and he is based in Santiago, Chile. Aurelio's had a very long and successful career in the Enel Group. He joined in 1999, if I'm not mistaken, and then moved up through the ranks as CFO of different Enel subsidiaries in Colombia and Brazil, until becoming CFO of the regional entity Enel Américas in 2018, and then moving to the CEO position last year. So just to get started, Aurelio, looking back into your career, you worked initially for nearly 10 years at the Rexam, a consumer packaging company, and then SC Johnson for a couple of years. What made you go into the energy sector back in the late 90s, and what are you most proud of having achieved, other than being the CEO of this great company?
Well, Arthur, thank you so much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be with you. Yes, you described it very well. I am 25 years working in the power sector, in the energy sector. First in this, then Enel, with the evolution of the group. I moved to the electric sector. I started in the manufacturing sector, nothing to do with the energy sector, power sector. And what makes me do this transition is the privatization process that started, especially in the region, in Brazil, not only in the region in the 90s and in the last period of the 90s. So I started to think and thinking that could make sense to understand more and to be more related into this industry, into this sector. So I moved from SC Johnson to Endesa at that time. I mean, it's been 25 years, but lots of activities, lots of projects. I started with a generation business in Brazil. We started with a project finance with the interconnection between Brazil and Argentina, which was an amazing process. Then we had a rationing in Brazil, beginning of the 2000. So lots of projects, thermal plants, then renewables, then distribution business, different monsters, different business, but lots of new things. I learned a lot. I've been learning a lot during this year, lots of transformation. And it's been, for me, making me thinking in this movement, which is, it made a lot of sense, this transition. So that's more or less like this.
And what would you say you are most proud of in these past 25 years? Is there any specific project you worked on, or any specific role, or yeah, it could be something specific or more broadly, anything that comes to mind?
More broadly, what makes me very proud to be part of is especially in the beginning that we are not so many people, so we created a team, a small team, and then we started to work together and grow together. It gives me lots of pride to be part of this improvement. Today, you see, Enel in Latin America is a huge group, a huge company worldwide, but I mean in Latin America especially. But we started, for example, with the interconnection with 5 people, and we got a project finance with um, with IDB. Uh, we did a lots of operation in terms of imports, in terms of taxes, in terms of implementation, integration of teams. So this, I mean, this evolution, seeing that when we were a small group of people, but very good people and very good team, and we grow together, doing lots of things, and see how we were growing. This makes me lots of gives me lots of pride to be part of this
Absolutely. Yeah,
journey.
no, I'm sure Enel has transformed the lives of those 5 people and many other people. Just to give the audience some stats, Enel's distribution companies now service around 23 million people across the region. It has more than 14 gigawatts of installed generation capacity, and 90% of that is renewable energy. So the company is clearly at the forefront of the energy transition and supplying clean electricity to over 20 million people in the region. So very, very impressive. Um, just looking into the sector itself, there's so many different technologies and factors that influence the sector on a daily basis. For you, what are the major opportunities you're seeing in Latin America when it comes to the energy sector, and what is Enel doing to capitalize on those opportunities?
We are in the, I think, Latin America, we are in a privileged position for this energy transition, right? We have a clean matrix. If you see it, it's a complement for the world generation matrix in terms of renewable. I mean, we have a major renewable matrix. People in Latin America, the people lives in big cities, right? In the big capitals and mega cities of Latin America. And we have also especially for the commodities, we are in a region that we have everything here. I mean, we have lithium, we have copper, we have the great what we need for the transition. We have it here. Uh, so we are, I think, and especially in this geopolitical situation that we see in the worldwide, Latin America, we can, I mean, we can complement, and certainly we can be a very good. We are in a very good position in terms of supply for United States, for Europe, and for China, for Asia. I mean, we are we need what we need right now is to take this opportunity and to create value and perpetual value for our region. We have lots of inequalities, as we know. We have issues related to informality and so on. So we need to capture this moment, to seize this moment, and create value, right, for sustainable value for our people. I mean, for our countries.
Yeah.
And take this advantage. You see, for example, in Mexico, for example, no, the nearshoring. So examples like this, I mean, this is something that we need to capture, but not with the old logical of, I mean, selling commodities, just selling commodities, and not creating value here in the region. So
Yeah.
that's why with the energy transition, I think it's an important pillar tool to capture this value and transform it in a sustainable way. If you see in the talking more specifically for the opportunity, we see the generation business, the renewable generation business, the transmission. We have big issues related to transmission in Colombia, in Brazil, in Chile. Lots of opportunities for new investments and capture value. And last but not least, the consumption part. We have huge gaps in terms of investments, not only in energy but infrastructure in general. So we need to capture this and improve the productivity, especially the productivity of our region. So
definitely,
I mean, if you see the possibilities, I'm very optimistic for the possibilities that we have with this with all these fronts in the energy transition. Again, with this focus to create value not only for the company but for society, for communities.
Yeah. No, I think Latin America has this advantage of a very clean generation matrix, and hydropower is obviously a big part of that. But at the same time, when we exclude hydropower from the picture, the renewable, purely solar and wind penetration in most of Latin American countries is still quite significantly lower than you would see in a developed market like the US or Europe or China, for example. Where, transportation in specific is a sector that comes to mind, where Latin America is having a very hard time decarbonizing, right? Because the costs of electric vehicles are very high. There's import tariffs, there's not enough charging infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. How do emerging markets, emerging regions like Latin America balance this need to decarbonize and reduce emissions, at the same time improving the quality of life of their people? We see this a lot in India, for example, massive push for renewables, but there's also, which makes sense, a priority to improve the quality of life of people. How do you balance these two when thinking about Latin America in specific?
Yeah. You see, you told it, you described it very well. We have a major matrix with that, hydro power, right? And of course, the signals that we have in Latin America of hydro season, dry season, I mean, the prices that we can, we see lots of volatility, right? And this influence, we cannot deny, this influence a lot the level of pricing that we get for example, for a PPA, no? And this is an important part to turn a renewable project into reality. So, but I mean, this is very cyclical, right? This is cyclical. So what we see today is that we started with lots of subsidies, right? To turn into reality the renewables. Non-conventional, no? Then we move into a more market logical. We started with we moved into auctions and free market. Now we are totally or more into free market, so which is very good, which is seeing that a project can be profitable by itself. So, of course, we need to the evolution of this market. Right? We see a big evolution in terms of free market, especially in Brazil. Right. So, what I see is that with this evolution, we'll have a huge quantity of energy from one side, probably with lower margin, but a huge quantity of energy, and this could accelerate the renewable energy in the medium term, right? Renewable energy is the cheapest one, right? It's for our region, so it will. No doubt about it that it will move forward with this condition. again, the volatility influence. If you see today, for example, in Brazil, we have a very, a very good hydro condition, so the prices are low. But you see that this can change in a year, for example,
Yeah.
and this could bring it to the increase in a period of opportunity. But this is not the main driver. I think the main driver of this is the market liberalization, right? And this window of the opportunity. We have very good projects from companies, other competitors. I mean, with these improvements of these conditions, I think I don't have doubts that will accelerate the development of these renewable projects.
Understood. So it's a lot about market liberalization and increasing overall supply at lower costs, it seems.
Yes.
And I think I read this today or yesterday that Brazil imported the least amount of gas this year or last year since 2009 because of very high hydro reservoirs, right? Which is obviously a very good sign, but it's also very dependent on something that we can't control, which is the weather, right? One thing that we sort of can control are interest rates, right? How is the region being impacted by this new high interest rates policy that's ongoing worldwide? Because we hear a lot from developers and investors that the returns in Latin America are not attractive enough relative to risk. So they're focusing more on the US, where there's subsidies, there's IRA, etc. How are you seeing Latin America in relation to receiving investment when it comes to an era of high interest rates?
Well, it's impacting a lot and impacting everybody. I mean, it's been tough to the capital, the cost of capital. No, it's been difficult to approve and to reach the profitability of a new project. No, and that's why, of course, everybody is delaying a little bit the decision of investments. But I'm confident that it's a cyclical, right? And we'll see this reduction. Probably in Brazil is accelerating more this process, but still we have a real interest rate very high. And this is what's important here is to have a very good pipeline of projects, very good and very agile approach in terms of contracting energy. And since we have this better condition in terms of interest rates, we'll approve the project and to put in the operation the next 2 years or next 1 year, depending on the maturity of the project. But it's impacting a lot. It's been difficult. I mean, the PPA, the prices of energy, the first one, no, the interest rates, the second, no, all of course the costs, inflation, and so on. And also other thing that's it's been difficult is the bureaucracy for approving the project is something that's affecting a little bit more in some countries, and countries are addressing these, policymakers, they are addressing these. We saw in Chile a recent legislation, but I mean, these elements turning into a difficult scenario for a new project. But as I'm confident that and really believe that it's cyclical, and since we have a better conditions, you'll see an acceleration of this investment. And the last but not least, the growth of the region, because you see the region we see in some cases some instability, but at the end of the day, the institutions here are working very well. In Brazil, we saw the democracy, and in Colombia, in Chile, I mean, the countries it doesn't depend on the orientation, political orientation, but we see that there are checks and balances in the countries that are working for a medium and long-term view. Of course, we are not Europe, or we are not in that level or United States. But I think if we see our past situations, we are improving a lot in this front of institutionality. Lots of challenges ahead, no doubt about it. But we see that we are, as a region, improving and working well.
Definitely. I think it's a lot of interesting points there. Permitting is a huge issue, right? We've been helping the IDB with some permitting work, helping them advise governments, and the average permitting times you see, for example, in Colombia can be from 4 to 6 years for a solar project, even higher for a wind project, if it ever makes it off the ground, right? So countries with much lower permitting times in Central America, for example, El Salvador, Dominican Republic, Panama, are getting a lot more developer attention lately. We're even hearing developers, since the interest rates are so high, they're focusing a lot on going from greenfield to ready to build. Once the interest rates lower, they'll build, which seems like it's a similar approach that Enel is focusing on. So other than permitting, other than high interest rates, other than weather being unpredictable factor, is there any other major threats to Enel's business model? And if so, what are you doing to address that threat?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Uh, there are some points that we see today that some issues that as a society and companies, and governments, communities, we need to face that we are seeing more and more environmental events, events that we've never seen in the past. And all of us that deal with infrastructure, not only electric power sector, but also roads, cities, water, and so on, they are related to extreme events that we are seeing today. This is a very important point that we need to discuss again, governments, policymakers, society, planners, companies, in order to address what are the infrastructure that we want, the communities and society wants to, in order to face this, because this is a reality. Climate change is affecting. We deal with this. We saw issues in São Paulo, winds with more than 100 kilometers per hour. We've never seen this. Our grid, for you to have an example, we are prepared for 60 kilometers per hour, but never 100 kilometers per hour. We see recently problems of high temperature in, last year in Buenos Aires, this week in Chile. Again, not entering in the specific situations, but we see that something changed a lot our reality, and we that deal with infrastructure and society, we need to discuss this. What are the points and what we want to do and what we want, to propose in order to face this new reality. This is one important point. The cause, the root cause comes to all the efforts that we are doing with the decarbonization and so on, because it's a reality. We are addressing this, and we need to accelerate. But not only this, also in the distribution business, in our case, we see an exposure to these extreme events that will give very, and it will not stop. We see also you are from the south of Brazil. You see in the south of Brazil with what happens with also with this wind and this problem with the climate. So This is in general. This is will affect everybody. So this is a large discussion that we as Enel, we want to promote this, and we want to give voice on this. Not only looking for our side, but also and seeing the forest. I mean, seeing the operation, we see that this is a reality. It will keep on impacting the reality of the people in the cities, in the countryside, and this is something important.
Definitely.
Other thing that we need to evaluate, link it to this, but not only, is the regulation. I mean, in some countries we need to evaluate to for an evolution of regulation, right? Some regulation incentives, they are from the past, and it's not the reality. I mean, people want to produce their own energy. I think, yeah.
Yeah, and how, because people want to produce their own energy. That's definitely a major trend, and a lot of it is rooftop solar. And in some countries, there's discounts. You don't have to pay certain fees to the distribution companies. How is that impacting you guys, especially in a country like Brazil, where I think there's 17 gigawatts maybe of distributed generation, a very high number.
Yeah, yeah. This is, I mean, this is an alternative, and there's no return on this. And I think we as Enel, what we need, not only Enel, but distribution in general, we need in general, we need to assure that the platform is huge and resilient in a way that we can absorb the best alternatives in terms of prosumer, in terms of energy production, in terms of free market. I mean, we need to prepare this, and the regulation should focus on this, right? Focus on this, and not. I mean, this is a huge transformation that we need to address, right? The subsidies issues, I think it's not correct, because we are charging for the poor people to give benefit to the rich. I mean, it's not correct. I mean, this taxation of the sun, slogan that you know very well, that in Brazil we heard this issue. It's not taxation. It's that you give the money for the rich, that they have the money to install panel in their roof, but for the poor people, that they do not have the money to pay for this. And this is not correct. This is an incentive, an opposite incentive.
Yeah, and just being conscious of time here, what kind of legacy would you like to leave for the Enel Group once you're no longer working there? Is there a specific legacy or specific objective you have in mind?
Sure. I mean, especially helping to develop our people, right? And as an example, as learning with them, working with them, and I would like to be remembered this way, to be someone part of the team that we build together, and we learn together, and we had lots of fun together. I mean, that's why I want to be remembered in my legacy. This journey.
I think that's what most of us want at the end of the day, right? To be able to leave an impact, but also make friendships along the way, help people along the way. And I think that's what it's all about. And just my final question here, would you recommend the energy sector for younger professionals? Because there might be some younger professionals watching this. And if so, is there any specific part of the energy sector you would recommend them to go into? Because there are as you know, there's so many different options, so many different parts of the value chain. What are your thoughts on that?
I definitely recommend especially in this moment of this transition, this huge transition. It doesn't matter where, if you are in the distribution, in the generation, in the transmission, in the commercialization, the trading. I mean, each part. It's amazing to be part, but especially the moment, and especially analyzing how energy transform the life of people, and consider these people as not as consumers, as clients, as a vehicle of transformation for their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have this broad view with sustainability in all its impact, not only the sustainability for the climate, not only sustainability for social, but all of this, and especially sustainability in terms of finance, because if it's not sustainable financially speaking, it's
Mm-hmm.
forget all the other parts and the huge transformation that the energy transition, the electric sector, the power sector can bring to our communities, to our people.